Before processing sales, it is necessary to set up currencies and tenders to accept payment. First, click on Database, Currencies, double-click on US dollars. The description and code fields hold the name and ID of the currency. Specify if there is an exchange or conversion rate. Also, define the locale that this currency is used in. In the example section below, the first line refers to the locale of the POS register. The next line shows the exchange rate, and the product on the bottom line shows the result based on the locale drop-down box. Let's create a Canadian dollars currency to illustrate how this works. In the Currencies window, click on New. Enter the name and code for Canadian dollars. Enter a conversion rate. Notice that the exchange rate is automatically calculated. Next, select the locale as English, Canada. In the example section below, you can see that the system has calculated the result of converting US dollars into Canadian dollars. Click OK to save the currency. After setting up currencies, we are ready to create tender types that will be used at the point of sale to accept payment. Click on Database, Tender Types. Under the General tab, enter the tender information. Create a description by which the tender is referenced, and enter a unique tender code. The tender type drop-down box contains a number of tender varieties that behave according to their type. For example, the account tender type requires a customer to be selected for a transaction and that the customer has credit available on their account. If a tender type is not available from the list, choose the Other tender type, which behaves similarly to a cash tender type. In the Register Settings section, the Display Order field will determine the order this tender will be placed in the list of available tenders at the POS screen. It can be more efficient to have the most commonly used tenders at the top of the list. The scan code value is specifically used for keyboards with macro capability and facilitates quick tender selection. The round to value may be used if the tender cannot be used to process pennies, for example. If you put 0.05 in the field, the POS will round the amount due and the change values to the nearest nickel. Prevent cashier overtendering prevents the cashier from tendering an amount that is higher than the transaction totals. This type of cash back method may not be permitted on credit cards or other types of payments. If Pop Cash Drawer is selected, the cash drawer will open when the sale is tendered. If you have a signature capture device defined for the register and the Require Signature option is selected, store operations will prompt the cashier to have the customer sign the signature pad. Allow multiple entries for this tender type will allow payment to be split between two of the same tender types. For example, if a customer would like to split a payment between two Visa cards. The Denominations button will allow the setup of individual denominations like pennies, nickels, dimes, and so on. If these are defined, the cashier will have access to a currency calculator which assists in adding up tenders received or in counting opening and closing amounts. Settings in the Verification tab relate specifically to processing check, debit, and credit cards and is only applicable in the United States. Click OK to save your changes. Note that any changes made to tender types will only take effect after the POS register performs a Z-report.